Hey guys, today I'm going to go over a customer's car that we got in the shop, and I usually don't like doing this, but I wanted to show this thing. This thing's pretty wild. This is about the craziest and hardest wiring job that I've ever experienced. So this is a 2008 GT500. It was the owner of this car has built a phenomenal machine. This thing's amazing. It's probably one of my favorite cars too, and that's the only reason that I'm actually still doing it and not saying screw it and come pick this thing up. It's a 2008 GT500, and it has, we'll go up here and look underneath the hood. It's a 6.2 liter, disregard the fact that the throttle body's sitting here. But I had to remove the blower in order to get to the back side of where all the factory wiring was. But it's a 6.2 liter GT supercar heads. I don't know much about the engine. I'm not really much of a mod motor guy, but it's got the best of everything in it. There's details on this car that really kind of blow me away, and I'm around a lot of really nice stuff all the time. Every damn bolt in this car is titanium. It's unreal. Like, anytime I've had to unbolt anything, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Everything's titanium. Everything. Most people do like lug nuts or something, but literally every bolt in this car is titanium. This thing's it's beautiful. But I kind of wanted to go over this thing because it is different. The car is being built for drag and drive events, so like drag week, sick week, that kind of stuff. And the car was running with a Haltech system in it with what can only be described as probably the worst disaster of a wiring job that I've ever seen. As far as aesthetics, right? And apparently everything functioned, but I can't confirm 100%. This one's unique. It's got a Kenny Bell Mammoth blower on it. So it's over there on the shelf, but it's got a Kenny Bell Mammoth blower on it. The idea, as far as I could gather from the customer, was he wanted something that could do drag and drive events, be extremely comfortable, have all the amenities of a stock newer car, and have something very reliable and different. I don't know exactly what an ET goal is for this car, but I would put it somewhere in the 7-second area. So these cars are loaded down with electrical shit from the factory. There is just so engineers at the factory just do things a lot different than we do in the aftermarket world, and there's just a lot of redundancy, and I get it. There's just a lot of technology in these newer cars. So if you're watching this video and you're like, man, I would love to build a GT500 to like drag race, I'm probably going to say, if you do, either totally commit to making it a race car or don't, right? Because this is like, I'm telling you, this is the hardest job that I've ever done, and I consider myself decent at what I do. I'm not dumb. I spend a lot of time doing this. This has been my life for a long time, and this one is very, very difficult in order to have an end result that is going to, one, not only function properly, but two, not be a disaster looking, right? So the first thing that we ran into, so when the car was dropped off, this whole floorboard all through up there, pretty much everywhere was filled with wire and connectors and stuff everywhere, as well as all into the back of the car. It was, the whole, I'm not talking bad about the person that did the job before. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of stuff in this car, okay? And the factory integration is not easy when it comes to this stuff, because the newer cars need, or the newer cars have so much extra stuff in them, right? So, like for reference, if you've been around these cars, and the Vettes and the Camaros are the same way, but the window, when you roll the window all the way up, it stops like this high from the top, and the reason being is because it has to go up into this windows channel. So there's limit switches and stuff inside the door. It doesn't sound like anything important until it's time to gut the car and make it a race car, you know, a street strip car, and have a nice looking end result. Then you add in the complexity of the air conditioning and heat that's in the car, as well as all the factory switches. So this has been an undertaking that was a lot more than I was anticipating, to be honest. But the owner is awesome. He's built an awesome car, and it's been. This is something that I'm really looking forward to when it's all done. This is probably my favorite car. So I used to have a 2007 GT500. It was the lighter colored gray with the same colored stripes. Like mine had this color for stripes, and I love the car. This one has just really taken it above and beyond anything that I could have ever foreseen doing, you know, in 2009 when I owned that car. So there's ultra carbon doors on it. So I don't know if you're not aware, ultra carbon makes about the absolute nicest carbon fiber composites on the market. I mean, they're gorgeous. You know, all the factory stuff goes back on. The door panel sits right. I mean, everything sits right. The lines on the car look right. I mean, it's a factory door, just carbon fiber and show finished carbon fiber. You know, so they obviously painted the outside of the door, but you know, you've got an unbelievably nice everything on this thing. So it's obviously I have it all wrapped up for paint, you know. So in the trunk, we've got a onboard air compressor, and that's going to be in place of a CO2 tank that you would use for a shifter, and that's going to be controlled by the smart wire. There's also this is the pump for the intercooler, right? So these blowers have an intercooler underneath the blower, and this tank back here is your water tank for the intercooler for the blower. So the pump's back here, and then when you fold down this flap, slide in here. When you fold this flap down, you've got a nice little flat area to put your luggage or whatever. He's also got all the plastic trim that goes back in here, to make it look like it came from the factory. So let's talk about what I pulled out of this car. So this is all factory wiring that was in the car that's not necessary for what we were doing, and everything hopefully will function properly. I use tape in different colors to mark connectors that I actually need, and certain things that I actually need. So it's just a little tip if you ever undergo something like this. And then this is all of the aftermarket wiring that was in the car. And this is the extensive part, right? So like there's a underneath the battery cable. There's just a tremendous amount of wiring that was in the car everywhere. There's more of it. For reference, the goal here was to try to keep reuse as many connectors as I can, because they're not cheap. So I started a bin. This is literally a bin or a box full of connectors. This thing was loaded down. So we'll be able to reuse these. We'll just have to put new pins in them. The majority of these. We won't be using nearly as many of these, but it is what it is. And this is what was in the car to for aftermarket electronics. So the customer originally had this wired with Haltech, with their Elite 2500T. I'm not much of a Haltech guy, as you guys know. Not talking bad about it, but it is certainly not a all-in-one box type of scenario for sure. With the Elite, I know the new Nexus is different, but I'm just, for what I've got in front of me and what I've removed from the car, everything that is sitting here, bar that, right? All of this, here, we'll get rid of this because this is a wireless system that was used for the steering wheel. All this is what was in the car just for Haltech to run what we're going to do with just a Dominator ECU. And then as far as power delivery, there was a SpeedWire system in it, which SpeedWire is great. I like SpeedWire stuff. For this application, it just wasn't enough. There just isn't enough, right? So we pulled the SpeedWire out. The switch panel's still in the car. I have to remove that. And then this is the factory fuse box, which they took the factory fuse box and the factory ECU, which was underneath the hood, and moved it into the car, which then eliminated the glove box. There was no way to put a glove box back in it. And it was a mess, so they wound up cutting into that, all the factory stuff, putting connectors on it, running stuff all over the place. Needless to say, this is now completely removed from the car. This is also removed from the car. Won't be using it. And we will be controlling the entire car with a smart wire and a Dominator. The only other external, relays that'll be in this car, just because of all the stuff that's going in this car, we're just out of capacity with a smart wire. The only external relays that are going to be in this car are for the gear vendor, the overdrive unit, and I have it written down, but there's one other thing. We're going to have one external relay. So a car of this magnitude being able to be controlled with just these two things is pretty awesome, in my opinion. As far as EFI wiring goes, name a sensor and it is on this car. I mean, name it and it's on this car. There's tire temp, track temp, gear position. This has got more stuff in it than my own personal car, which I didn't think was going to be possible, but yeah, here we are. There is a tremendous amount of data that's going to be in this car. Is it overkill? Maybe, but it doesn't matter because the whole car is overkill. It doesn't, that people say sometimes, well, you don't really need this, you don't really need that. Well, you also don't need to make 1,000 horsepower when you can get back and forth to work with 100. You don't need to make 2,000 horsepower. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need. That doesn't mean that you don't want it. So the owner of the car decided what he wanted, and here we are. So I kind of wanted to just start off documenting this one because this job is tremendously large and from my scope of things, and this one's different. So as long as everything goes well and when it's all done, I'm going to be pretty excited about this one. So I've done very extensive jobs on Corvettes and Camaros and Copo Camaros and race cars and street strip cars. I've got a whole ton of stuff. This one's next level. If you're thinking about building a street car and making a whole bunch of power and whatnot, just know that street cars are a lot more expensive than race cars. At least double. So if you said, hey, I could build a race car for $50,000, that same thing being able to be streetable, it's gonna be $100,000. So just understand that when you build a street car, everything gets substantially more intricate and expensive. So anyway, I figured I would try to do something a little different. I'm still under the weather. I got the Rona. I've been kind of laid up for the past few days, and today I'm starting to feel a little bit better, so I figured I would put together a video on where we're at with the GT500. So, all right, see you guys.